Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So the Washington Commanders just won their third preseason game, beating the Cincinnati Bengals 21-19. We're going to be talking about the biggest risers and fallers and the takeaways from today's game. If you guys are new, please subscribe, hit that like button, and the notification bell as well. It helps out a ton. Alrighty, so let's get into it. So last preseason game of the 2023 season, and now the Commanders have to go from 90 people on the roster to 53 in the next few, 2 to 3 days. So I bet you tomorrow morning we'll hear a few players that get cut, or tomorrow, and slowly more guys getting cut. It's part of the business. Unfortunate. A lot of the guys will be back on the practice squad, though. Let's talk about this, though. Solid game overall for the Commanders. Weren't playing many starters. Played Nick Gates, Sam Kazmeir, Sadiq Charles, and Cole Turner played a little bit. Probably not starting. He's gonna be a contributor this year. But if Logan Thomas is healthy, he'll probably start, or he will start. But thought Jake Fromm looked good, 13 of 18, 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. Still don't know if he's going to make the roster. I think they can stash him on the practice squad. I don't think anyone's going to pick him up. Jacoby Brissett was okay, 10 for 15, 96 yards, a touchdown. Avoided a couple sacks out there, but they got sacked 3 times. O-line was, all right. Let's talk about some studs today and some, guys that did not help their chances. One of those guys is Kazmeir Allen. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Chris Rodriguez played really well. 7 carries, 52 yards, 7.4 yards, a pop. Was really just explosive, looked good. And I think I want to see what he can do this year. He doesn't need to get a ton of carries, but starting out the season, if it's a blowout, give him a couple carries in the Cardinals game. See what he can do, and then slowly see how he looks and develops. And if he's that guy, if he looks really good, maybe he can be a significant contributor down the line. Jarrett Patterson looked really good, 8 for 51, almost 2 yards a carry more than Derek Gore. And Derek Gore, was getting a little bit, playing time before him. I don't get it. Jarrett Patterson 100% is better than Derek Gore. I just don't see the reason to keep Derek Gore over Jarrett Patterson. None of them are making it, but if I had to choose one, it would be Jarrett Patterson. Jonathan Williams was okay out there. Again, though, I think Jarrett Patterson gets too much hate, not by the fans. The fans love him, but by the coaching staff. I don't think they really like him. If I were him, I would move to somewhere else, get a practice squad job there for this season, and then compete in their camp next offseason and potentially make the roster, or get called up this year. But shout out to Jarrett Patterson, looked really good out there. Start of the game, especially on offense, Mitchell Tinsley, 3 catches, 89 yards, had a touchdown, nice spin move there. He also was a few inches away from another touchdown, so he had a really good game. He improved his chances of making the roster, and then also with Kazmeir Allen's poor performance, that also improves his chances. Still don't know if he makes it. Because he doesn't add a lot of stuff on special teams. He probably will be a practice squad guy. That will be one of their top practice squad guys. So Brandon Dillon had a couple catches. Derek Gore showed some things. Cole Turner had 4 catches. And I wasn't paying attention as much as I should have, but was with some friends and talking a little bit. But Kazmeir Allen's the biggest story I would say about this game. Got targeted twice, could have caught at least one of those, maybe both of them, and then muffed the punt. And they ended up recovering, but he, called it in the 5-10 yard line inside the 10. And if they would have recovered that in a real game, that's a 7-point play right there, and potentially to be more than a 7-point swing. So you just can't do that. And to put it on the, ground in a preseason game doesn't look good. And it sucks because he has so many other good returns, man. He had some really good returns in this game. And then also in past games, too. He had 2 kick returns for 26.5 yards. So I think he's a practice squad guy that maybe if he regains their trust, they'll bring him back onto they'll promote him from the practice squad. But that's the reason. Again, I'm not a huge Dax Milne guy, but he didn't muff a single punt last year. I don't believe he did. He might have dropped one and then recovered it himself, but he was very consistent and wouldn't get you a ton of yards, but what you're getting in him. So not a big Dax Milne fan, but I just don't want it to, I don't want a fumble to happen. So that's kind of my thoughts there. But overall, the offense was solid. Fromm looked good. Brissett was all right. And then, Chris Rodriguez and, Jarrett Patterson both looked really good as well. And then Derek Gore and Jonathan Williams were fine. Real quick, guys, a word from our sponsor. And shout out BetUS for sponsoring this video. BetUS is the leading online sports betting company. They're secure, they're reliable, and they got great customer service. And the NFL season is right around the corner. And you can bet on preseason, which is wrapping up today, but the real stuff starts pretty soon. You can bet on futures. If you think the Commanders are going to win 8 or more games, you get plus odds on that for BetUS. A lot of people don't believe in the Washington Commanders. The over-unders are, around 6.5. But if you think they're going to win, 8+ games, you get plus money on that. I think that's a really good deal. And I think they're winning 8 or 9 games this year. So go ahead and check that out. Use the link in my description, and you get 125% first-time deposit match. So if you put in 100, you get $250 back. It's a really good deal, and they got more than just the NFL. They got basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, any sport you name, they've got it. Shout out BetUS. Okay, so now let's go on to the defensive side of the ball. So they scored 19 points, so it's a pretty good job overall. And funny thing, the Commanders go 3-0 in the preseason. I think the first time since 2013. And that was not a great year for the Commanders. So I know all of you guys know this, but just because you're good in the preseason doesn't matter in the regular season. But I think overall, taking the wins out of it, the Commanders have had a good preseason. Besides Terry McLaurin getting hurt, they've seen a lot of development and good things from Hal and this offense and some defenders as well. So I think this preseason has been good for the Commanders. So some guys on defense, Sean Harris had 8 tackles. He had a couple nice plays. Quan Martin had a big hit, some nice tackles. There was one play, the touchdown that they scored, where the receiver, I think it was 80, was wide open, and it was just a blown coverage. I don't know who it was. The depth that Quan Martin had there wasn't great. So I don't know. That's just the only thing I really had to say about Quan Martin that was bad, and I just don't know whose fault that was. Could have been David Mayo, could have been Quan Martin's, could have been a combination of both. Terrell Burgess had a nice, can't remember, I just remember he had a nice play. I think he broke up a pass that was really nice as well. Jace Whitaker also had a couple nice plays as well, so shout out those guys. Khaleke Hudson had some really nice plays early on, had 2 tackles for loss. We knew he's going to make it, but he had a really good spring, camp okay, and then preseason's been solid. So I think he has, he's going to be their, third linebacker. It's going to be Jamin Davis, Cody Barton, and then, Khaleke Hudson. The depth isn't great, but it is what it is. Jeremy Reeves was getting playing time there. David Mayo was getting playing time. And then, KJ Henry and Andre Jones were out there. I didn't notice a ton out of them in terms of, big plays. Let's see. KJ Henry had a tackle. I saw him moving pretty well, though, running down some defenders. I'm trying to see Andre Jones here at all. But defense was solid. Again, a lot of the, bigger names aren't there. And I, saw some people on Twitter talking about, the corner depth isn't great. A decent amount of people were talking about. But let's keep it real. Their top 3 corners were out today. And Quan Martin plays a little bit corner. I think he'll develop nicely. You got Danny Johnson. You got Christian Holmes. I mean, you look at these 5th, 6th corners on most teams, they're not great. So they're not great at all. Let's go to special teams real quick. Actually, Jace Whitaker also had an interception at the end. I forgot about that. I think it was the end of the first half. We talked about Kazmeir Allen. Had some nice returns, but can't drop the punt, man. You can't. Joey Sly, 3 for 3 on extra points. Did kind of, he almost missed one, but... And then Tressway was back there. Good to see him back. And punted, he was fine. 2 inside the 20. And I didn't notice any bad snaps from Cameron Cheeseman. So not going to give him a round of applause. But, again, if he did have any bad snaps, that's when you start to get a little bit concerned there. So, overall, solid game by the Commanders. I would say the studs today. Jake Fromm looked really good. Chris Rodriguez and Jarrett Patterson were good. Mitchell Tinsley, Bryson Tremaine had a touchdown. Maybe that helps him make the practice squad. Also had 26, yards as well. And then I thought Ricky Stromberg was solid. It was tough to tell from the O-line, but they were pretty good. And it's just, again, without the film, you really can't tell. So it's just going to be one of those situations where you have to go back and watch it. Sometimes even rely on the PFF grades, which aren't the best. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But yeah, that's the reality of the situation with these PFF grades. But the biggest thing is, what guys are getting cut. Maybe I'll make a video tomorrow doing, a roster, projection, 53-man roster projection. But some of these guys are getting cut tomorrow. It's the reality situation. It sucks, but it is what it is. So shout out everyone for watching. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, hit that like button, subscribe, and peace.